Hello everyone! Welcome back to the final episode of Damions Route. Well, sort of, kind of. Depends whether you count bonus content as the final episode or not. But yeah, bonus content for him. And today we'll be going through the City Lights. Now, as per usual, I have never been through these routes. They've kind of been similar to the others, but then they had their own secret story and stuff, so... And I never explored those before, so this is all new to me. But without further ado, let us begin. I'm still Mika. Fucking trash. I could never understand why, but whenever I found myself staring up into the sky at night, I always found myself lost in the moon's glow. The white and silver light just seemed to capture my attention, no matter how many stars peeked out of the darkness of space. It was impossible to tell how the moon was able to have this magic spell over me, but it was a spell I didn't think much on. After all, I had someone in my life to fill my thoughts with. Damion became my everything. My sun, my stars. He was so precious to me, and I couldn't dare to think of letting him go. I wanted to cherish him for the rest of my life, and my heart solidified that promise in my chest. He was the first person I could see in the morning, and the last person I would see at night before going to sleep. My heart gave a gentle thump in my chest as I opened my eyes and stared at the man lying beside me, his hair tangled and messed from my sleep, and his cheeks pink in peaceful slumber. How on earth did I get so lucky? Still, I was happy to know that I had finally found someone who made me feel absolutely happy, and I could only hope that I made him feel the same way.
What is it?
I love you. Aw. A simple smile and chuckle never made me feel so light.
And I love you. I love you so much.
I cuddled close to Damion. It was mid-afternoon, almost night, and Damion wasn't up for writing his children's book, so we settled on watching a movie in bed before dinner. However, Damion held me closer than he usually did. I didn't complain. It was just something I noticed and didn't really care to acknowledge as significant at the time. However, what he said surprised me.
Let's go to the city.
Huh? I stared at Damion incredulously. Ugh. Why did he want to go to Chicago, especially midway through the afternoon? Wouldn't traffic be horrible around that time? Still, despite my confusion, Damion smiled down at me with a hopeful gaze.
Can we? The city is much prettier at night.
Oh, we're at night, duh. I couldn't say no to him. Damion carried an innocence in his eyes that always convinced me to say yes to his small requests. Besides, it had been a while since we had gone to the city. So many city air was due for taking in. The city lights were always lovely to behold. Sure, let me get dressed and we'll head out. It took us a bit to get dressed and drive into the city. Damion had got James to teach him how to drive when we got together, and now Damion was able to get us anywhere we needed without much difficulty. While Lakeshore Drive was still a terrible expressway, we were able to get to the loop by dinner. We parked in a lot and began to walk around the city, taking in the sights of the magnificent mile and stopping in some new shops for a peek. It was exciting to see some of the Anderson toys being displayed in the windows of toy shops. Damion and I couldn't have been more proud of the company, and Damion's brothers working behind it. Damion, look! I had to stop and point a window display. Posed in a beautiful dance pose were two dolls, a boy and a girl, in front of an image of a beautiful spring sky. There was even a toy tree and a fence to decorate the foreground. I was very certain it was designed for tourists, yet it seemed so out of the blue. Damion stared in awe, but slowly a smile grew on his face from the sight. He placed a hand on the window and peered closer at the pair of dolls, eyes full of wonder.
That is brilliant.
What? Yeah! What's brilliant about it? I looked down beneath the window and stared at the plaque, obviously meant for describing the window display. A boy and a girl meet, and a story begins under a spring sky. Aw, that is so sweet. Damion nods and looks around.
Are there any more like this window?
Let's see. I took my time to gaze over the windows of the buildings, hoping to find another like it. I knew of shops doing this for the holidays, but this one seemed to be too convenient to have just one display. I grinned as I locked my sight on another window, going around the corner towards Navy Pier. There! I gently grasped Damien's hand and led him to another window. I smiled, seeing the same pair of dolls embracing it by a toy fountain. The image of the sky was darker, like the passing of time turned the sky a soft orange, excuse me.
Oh, wow. What is this one?
The plaque says, "A dream to behold, endless like water." It was insanely symbolic, especially with the fountain with them. I felt my heart squeeze with glee, remembering how I met Damien and how he confessed his love to me in the spring hidden in the mansion. Dreams were endless like water, and I had indeed found mine with Damien. We continued down the block, catching windows with the same doll couple in different situations. They watched fireworks, went to the beach, and did other activities together. It was so cute and romantic that we wound up arriving at Navy Pier before we knew it. However, for some reason, the pier was empty and devoid of people. Huh? Is Navy Pier closed today? Damien took out his phone and checked the website, shaking his head.
No, it says it's still open.
Huh. I was flabbergasted. Navy Pier was a giant tourist attraction, yet no one was there. At my expression, Damien gave my hand a squeeze and guided me forward with him.
Well, since there are no crowds, why don't we take advantage and explore by ourselves?
How convenient. Huh? Do you want to? Damien nodded, waiting for me to willingly come along for the ride. I grinned at the idea. We didn't have to wait in line for anything, nor did we have to maneuver our way through a busy tourist crowd of people. This was perfect. Damien and I began to walk through the pier, stepping into some of the shops. To my surprise, there were people working, and they were very excited to see us come up to their shops, giving us personal attention for whatever that we needed. It was strange. We also managed to catch more displays of the doll duo in smaller cases. They walked through the park, played it with a white cat. Were they new mascots for a brand that was spreading? I had to note their connection to Anderson Toys. I managed to catch a couple of displays with accessories for their doll collection, like the clothes and the decorations. Did James or Matthew know about them? Did Damien? Hey, Damien.
What is it?
Did James or Matthew ever talk to you about these toys? They're from Anderson. They're from the Anderson Toys. Damien smiled and nodded.
Yeah, I know about them.
Ah, haha, knew it. Well then, who are they? He chuckled. A chuckle escaped Damien's lips before he guided me forward towards the area where the Ferris wheel was.
I'll tell you about it when we get on the Ferris wheel.
I grinned. Well, it was typical to ride the Ferris wheel when you went to Navy Pier. Something about being the only passengers seemed really exciting. Would the operators bring us to the top and let us enjoy the night sky? I hope so. When we arrived at the gate, the operators of the wheel smiled at us and escorted us into one of the pods. It was comfy and warm, despite it being cool outside. When they shut the doors, Damien and I smiled at each other, anxiously waiting for the pod to move. Finally, the wheel began to turn, and we were slowly taking upwards. I couldn't help but be elated for the night sky we would see at the top. This is great! We're the only ones here and no one can bother us! Sweet! Damien smiled before bringing out his cell phone and tapping through it quickly.
There's just one more thing that can make this perfect.
What's that? I half expected him to take a selfie of us. However, he handed me the phone, ushering me to look at the screen. I took it with a confused expression and looked down to see what he was presenting me. I gasped. The doll duo was in front of the Ferris wheel, with the boy on one knee holding up a ring to the girl under a beautiful night sky. It suddenly hit me why the dolls were everywhere. I slowly looked up at Damien just as the Ferris wheel brought us to the top, and saw him on his knee, presenting a ring to me. Oh my god!
You and I have been through so much. You've given me absolutely everything and made my story one worth telling the world. Over and over again. I want to make you as happy as you have made me. You deserve the world, and a million stories can't even begin to describe how wonderful you are. I humbly ask, will you marry me?
My heart began to swell in joy, and tears slowly began to fall down my cheeks. Memories of us together began to flood my thoughts, reminding me of how much we had gone through. I loved this man. I would do anything for him, as he would do anything for me, and the love in his eyes only confirmed my feelings. This was meant to be. Yes! Oh my god, yes! I leaned forward and hugged Damien tightly, feeling him quickly slip the ring between us onto my ring finger and kiss my cheek. I was so happy I didn't know what else to say. I was going to marry the love of my life. As we pulled away, Damien leaned back and looked at the moon in the sky. It glimmered in the night, decorated with stars around its glow.
Tonight was a perfect night to see the city lights. Wouldn't you say so?
Ha 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 ha. I giggled, moving to sit beside him and cuddled up to him while viewing the sky as well. I couldn't agree more. I love you.
I love you too.
The night was indeed perfect. I got to see our story in the windows of Chicago, painted beautifully like a fairy tale anyone would want to experience. I felt flattered to know that the city knew our story directly, but my entire being began to fill with warmth at how proud Damien was to have me as his side. My brain's dying. I couldn't wait to spend the rest of my life with Damien. Our story would end with a happily ever after. So we assume until number 2 comes around. Alright, that was kind of cute. The dolls were actually a nice little touch. It's cute. It's very cute. Alright, well, wait, I'm getting a vision. I'm getting my psychic powers. The next episode, is coming. Ha! I told you the episode was coming. Another episode. The holiday episode, to be specific. Alright, let us start to begin with this. Our name is still Mika. Has not changed. New Year's Eve. A holiday celebrated internationally. It was one of those turns of time that no one on this earth could avoid. It was one thing to spend it alone, hoping for the best and being unsure of the future ahead of you. It was also another thing to spend it at parties, throwing a drink in the past you trudged through and dancing the night away. It was a very different story when the turn of the year and future beyond also somehow involved demons. The 5 incubi boys who had come into my life managed to stay in my home throughout the year, following my final high school quarter, and past my graduation. Even as I entered college, they remained supportive and surprisingly eager to stick around. Unfortunately, they were still freshly known to my family and friends, thus why I had to spend my holiday without them. My family had insisted on me returning to their house and spending the holidays before New Year's with them. While bringing the incubi along seemed like a good idea, the boys collectively wanted to spend the holidays together and did not want to intrude on my family this year. After all, my parents still believed that they were the house servants. Bringing even one of them home for the holidays would have been an interesting story. Well, we're going to have to tell that story eventually, because yeah, fuck one of them per route, so... Oh boy. However, I was devoted to spending some holiday time with them for the end of the year. When I was invited to places for New Year's Eve by both friends and family, I decided to stay home with the incubi. A part of me felt majorly excited. Another part of me felt like stopping myself over and over for letting them convince me that waiting for my holiday present was worth it. Still, it was rather hilarious to see them prepare New Year's dinner.
Oh my god! Sam, get out of the kitchen! Shut up, you little runt! I just want to look!
You're in the way, Sam. Out!
Yeah, fine, sheesh.
We told you not to go in there.
We did, Sam.
I swear to God I will hurt both of you.
That's no way to start the new year.
Sam, stay out of the kitchen. Even I wouldn't dare to go in there right now. Sam was completely right to feel impatient. James and Matthew had assigned themselves to make the New Year's dinner and had pulled out every recipe book in the library just to make sure they had the perfect menu. The aromas that wafted from the kitchen were intoxicating and almost heavenly. I felt my mouth water just from the scent. It didn't help that the kitchen had pretty much become locked territory. Unless you want an earful from James and Matthew combined, then it was best that you stayed out of their workspace. More teasing. Fantastic, baby! Whatever they're making smells amazing.
It is. They're almost done, though, so we won't be waiting long.
Well, that's good. They've been working all day on food.
Sounds like Thanksgiving.
Man, they need to hurry the hell up.
Quit being impatient, Sam.
Sam opened his mouth to fight back, but instantly shut it, most likely thinking the better of it, and grumbled under his breath as he turned to sit at the table. Soon enough, James and Matthew began to carry large plates to the dining room, setting them methodically around the table so everyone had the chance to get what they wanted, regardless of where they sat. I was stunned once more by the sheer amount of food prepared, topped only by the intense aroma that melted almost perfectly in the air. It was like they were trying to take the record of how much food could be placed on the table from when they had arrived. At that thought, I took a moment to realize something. It had almost been a full year since the incubi appeared in my life. I had graduated and was now experiencing my first year of college with the incubi beside me. Now here I was, about to enter a new year with them in my life. I couldn't help but let a smile creep onto my face from the thought.
Is everything alright?
Huh? I looked up, not realizing how lost in my thoughts I was, and came face to face with all 5 boys, looking at me in concern. Fuck! I shook my head and took a moment to collect myself before smiling once more. Sorry, I was just lost in thought.
Huh? What were you thinking about?
From the look on the boys' faces, all of them were curious to know. Did I want to be the cheesy nostalgic that brought up the past? Sure, why the fuck not? This is our last time anyway. I couldn't help the thoughts from appearing in my head. Might as well enjoy it with the rest of the group. I ran a hand through my hair and chuckled softly. Well, it's been almost a full year since we met, you know? I was just thinking about that. The boys stared at me before looking into each other in the same surprise realization.
Oh crap, that's right. We came here somewhere around April, right?
We did. Has it really been that long?
Damn, it feels like we only came here a short while ago.
Well, we've been here for a little over a year, and we've known you since April, so that's around 8 months.
Wow. To think we'd find ourselves in the company of such a wonderful woman within a year of being in the human world. We must be blessed.
Eric, please don't sweet talk me right now. I don't need to hear it right now. I couldn't help but roll my eyes at Eric's comment, while the others did as well in slight annoyance. Matthew and James continued to set up dinner while I became lost in my thoughts again. The memories of the past slowly flickered in my mind. Our first dinner, the house party, Malix and Diana. It was all surreal to remember, but they were real events in my life. Especially since I had my eyes on, oh, you guessed it, Damien. The boy of the group. Despite him being considered the quietest of his brothers, Damien was indeed the man I grew to love, and the man who offered his entire life to me. I was more than happy to live life with him, and to see him smile made me do the same. He was handsome and sweet, but unlike his brothers, he was human now. He was set for life being magicless, and I was going to walk through it with him, guiding him through this with a loving embrace. Damien sat beside me and gently held my hand, watching his brother set up for dinner. I could tell he was excited to get dinner started, but he was holding himself back and silently asked me to hold his attention. I could only smile and gently leaned over to kiss his hand, making him gasp slightly and look over me in surprise. I giggled, earning a small chuckle in return after Damien relaxed from the kiss. Finally, the table was set and we were all seated, ready to dig in.
I gotta admit, you and James did good, Matthew.
Thanks, Sam.
Aww.
Sam and Matthew not fighting? It's a winter's miracle.
Hey, I'm not a complete asshole to him. Only sometimes.
Well, it is the turn of the human year, so it's a good way to get the habit of being nice started.
Very true.
Damien laughed and I couldn't help but do the same. However, one curiosity burned in my mind. Hey, I have a question.
Yes? What is it?
What did you do last New Year's Eve? I remembered them telling me that they had been in the human world for a full 6 months before my grandfather passed away. If that was the case, then this wasn't their first New Year's Eve. The boys took in the question and looked to each other.
Didn't we go to, like, New York or something?
Nah, we were on another continent by then. Like, Europe or something?
London. We were in London.
I remember that. We had such a fun time walking around and taking in the sights.
We were on the giant Ferris wheel when midnight came. It was amazing to see all of the fireworks from it.
Yes. The London Eye was closed off for the public, but since we were friends of Harold Anderson, we were allowed access and were lifted to the very top of it. A perfect view of the sky during the celebration.
Matthew couldn't stop jumping all over the damn place from how excited he was.
Hey, you were excited about it too. All of us were.
Very fair, Matthew. Still, has it really been a year since then? So much has happened since.
The boys seemed to trail off into their own nostalgic memories, mentioning events of their trip around the world thanks to my grandfather. While I was happy for them, a little part of me felt left out. only coming too. Sure, I didn't know them, but to have experienced the world with them would have been a dream. Maybe we could somewhere in this future. Heck, maybe I'll be able to see the demon world! However, who knew the future? It was an unknown fabric of time that I had yet to explore, that no one had yet explored. All I knew was that now I was in the incubi's lives, and I was going to see the new year come with them in my life. I looked to my glass, seeing it full of my favorite drink, courtesy of James, while he was setting up dinner. My own reflection greeted me, and I felt myself naturally take hold of it and lift it. Ahem. At last, the boys stopped talking and looked over to me in curiosity. As they noted my raised glass, I smiled. May I propose a toast?
Oh? A toast for what, princess?
The future. The boys listened, intently as I looked to my glass in a new hope. The future was a mystery indeed, and while I wasn't part of the incubi's past in the human world, I was more than happy to be a part of their future. To a future unknown, but a future I hope to explore with all of you. Silence consumed the air as the boys took in what I said. Did they realize the same thing I noticed? Finally, Damien lifted his glass and nodded to his older brothers.
To our future, where we will go through the unknown together.
His brothers smiled and lifted their glasses, but Damien looked to me with a loving gaze, knowing exactly where his future laid. Cheers! At that, we all drank to our toast, a future that was still unknown to me. I couldn't wait to experience it, but I was certain that my future was going to be absolutely grand. My heart couldn't stop pulsing with joy at the thought. I was excited to experience what was to come. We ate dinner and talked about the potential things that could happen in the future. New businesses, possible trips, the works. For the first time, I felt like I was part of the family as I listened to and spoke just as much as each incubus. However, as the sudden flare of fireworks flashed outside the window and the sound wave echoed behind the glass, the boys flinched and looked over in shock.
What the hell?
Fireworks?
But it's not midnight yet.
It's the pre-celebration fireworks.
You have those?
Sort of. The school in this area loves to order a lot of fireworks and likes to set off the extras before New Year's comes around.
What are you waiting for? We're gonna miss the fireworks show!
The boys and I all looked to each other and grinned before heading for the door. Oh, wow! The sky was full of softly falling snow. Each snowflake and star was illuminated by the bright, colorful lights of the far-off fireworks. I had seen them before, but to see them in an open sky not surrounded by suburb trees was a whole different experience.
Holy crap.
It's all so beautiful.
Absolutely, Damien.
Truly magnificent.
You got that right.
I looked up to Damien, watching him become entranced by the fireworks. For a moment, my heart caught itself in my throat at the sight. He seemed to glow in the bright colors of it, and I found myself utterly speechless. A small fragment of silence was enough to have him squeeze my hand, breaking me from my own daze and looking at him at attention. Huh?
This is the best New Year's Eve ever. Can we do this every year?
My heart flipped, and I found myself nodding without a word. Damien was so precious to me, and I could not wait to spend the new year and beyond with him in my life. Damien looked back at me and tilted his head, most likely confused at my expression.
Huh? What is it?
I can't wait to see the new year with you. Damien stared for a moment before smiling and nodding in reply.
I will happily spend every day with you, for as long as you'll have me.
Who could argue with that? It was at that moment I knew deep in my heart that I would have my happily ever after somewhere in that unknown future. Let the new year come. I was ready. Huh. Not gonna lie, that was kind of boring. Alright, well. Wait! I'm getting another vision! Hey, opposite vision! Not a holiday, but of warm, sunny sky! Oh man. Oh, the beach episode. There we go. That's what I was thinking of. That's what I was having a vision of. Oh, my awesome psychic powers. Alright, well, I believe this is the last of it? Yeah, it's usually the holiday in the beach. Yeah, okay. So this is the last episode for Damions are out. Let us begin with it. Still Mika. That has not changed in the slightest. Chicago is, to me, the greatest city in the world. It isn't crazy crowded, and it has the sights of New York City and Los Angeles in a wonderful package. The historic buildings and events that are peppered through Chicago are to die for. There is only one problem with Chicago. We don't have a beach. We have a lake. If you're the type that loves to surf, swim, or do anything remotely related to a beach, you would not find that kind of fun here. While you could do all those things in the lake, it's not suggested. The water is either too cold or too filled with questionable pollution to even dare try. At least you could walk around it and hang out with friends. So when the boys suggested that we go to the beach during dinner cleanup, I was completely dumbfounded. Wait, what? Guys, you mean the lake, right?
No, miss, we mean the beach.
Woo! We haven't gone to the beach in ages. Can we go now?
Which one are we going to?
Guys.
Do we have to? I got shit to do, you know.
You want a vacation too, Sam?
Get out of my head!
Guys! The boys all looked at me as I exploded, catching their attention. Why was it that every time I demanded their attention, I had to yell to get it? Nevertheless, I glared at the boys, not understanding where the idea of a beach trip came from. We were in the suburbs of Chicago, and there was no beach in any other of the four corners of Illinois. We have a lake, not a beach. Where is this beach idea coming from? The boy stared at me for a long moment before James cleared his throat with an obvious smile behind his fist.
Miss, I'm suggesting a trip out of state to an actual beach.
Wait, what? How would we get there? James adjusted his glasses with a smirk before walking around the dining room table towards the lobby.
I can have a jet scheduled for us with a non-stop flight. Hawaii has good weather today the last time I checked.
I had almost forgotten that James was the CEO now, so he had plenty of assets available to him. Still, Hawaii? That's like 9 hours by plane!
We'd sleep on the plane. Duh.
When the heck would we leave?
It would be best to leave sometime very early. Remember time zones.
I can schedule our flight for 7 a.m. We'd arrive around noon in their time zone.
Excellent. I'll pack some food for us.
Woo! Man, I gotta find my swim trunks.
I'll pack the sunscreen. This will be fun.
Guess we're really doing this, huh? Damn it. Fine, whatever.
Sam, you don't really have to come if you don't want to. I mean, come on now, stop being a little bitch. As soon as the boys quickly dispersed to pack and prepare, were they not going to ask me to come with? As I thought that, Sam peeked his head back into the dining room, glaring at me with a raised eyebrow.
Hey, you gonna pack or what? You're coming too.
Huh? What? Me?
No, the other Anderson in the room. Yes, you doofus. Now hurry up. If you don't, we're leaving without you.
Sam disappeared beyond the archway, most likely to go off and pack on his own. I let the situation sink in. We were all going to go to Hawaii and relax on a beach. It was a real vacation. Do I have, like, school holiday or something for this? Like, am I prepared for this? Now that I think about it? Oh well. I would have been stupid to say no to the chance to get away for a day, especially to Hawaii! I instantly ran into my room and began to pack my swimsuit and essentials, preparing for a long trip there and back. Even if we only stayed for the day or two, it was going to be a fun vacation. When we finished packing, we could barely contain ourselves. We were checking and double-checking our luggage, excited for this impromptu vacation. Matthew kept packing and repacking things, indecisive about what he wanted to bring. As 6 a.m. rolled around, we gathered our things and drove out to a private airport where James had scheduled a jet to pick us up. By 7, we were on a jet and soaring through the skies towards Hawaii. The excitement of the trip had me sleeping through the flight, hoping to make time go faster. By the time I opened my eyes, I was being ushered into a taxi, and shortly we arrived on the sandy beaches of Honolulu, Hawaii.
Phew! Look at that view!
Wow, that looks so beautiful.
It's just the beach.
Don't let anyone hear you say that, Sam.
Wow. I couldn't stop myself from staring at the view of the ocean myself. It was breathtaking to say the least. The air was fresh and the view of the endless horizon captivated my senses. It took James clearing his throat for us to break our attention away from the sight and look back at him.
Let's set up a spot for us to relax first before we enjoy ourselves.
With a nod from all of us, we set up a small area on the shoreline facing out towards the water. Our large purple and blue beach blanket became home base as we settled down and took in the fresh breeze. Sam stretched out, letting out a tired yawn. That's the longest yawn ever, dude. Shut up.
Man, how long do we plan on sticking around? Not gonna splash and run, are we?
I've already arranged a hotel block for all of us to stay in tonight, so you're completely free to do whatever you like for the day.
What? Really?
Always thinking ahead, aren't you?
That's our older brother for you. Always 3 steps ahead of the rest.
Come on, Sam. Don't be a killjoy.
Don't let him fool you. He's just as excited as we are.
Damien, can you read his mind? I didn't know that was possible at this point. Despite the quick glare in Sam's eyes at Damien, Sam couldn't help but smile and nod.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like, it's been what? Half a year since we had a real vacation?
The boys nodded in agreement. Had it really been that long for them? I had graduated and the summer caught up to us so quickly that I barely realized how much time passed since the boys came to live with me. As I thought of it, a smile trickled onto my lips, remembering how close we had all become. I was especially close with, oh, Damien, get over here, my boy. I turned my head toward Damien, seeing him stare at the ocean's horizon. I couldn't help but wonder what was on his mind. Damien had become an interesting adventure to explore as he was generally the less talkative brother of the incubi. Despite being human now, I find those facts dance around my thoughts in fascination. As I looked at Damien, he looked over and was surprised to see me stare at him before smiling and reaching over, taking my hand. I blushed and smiled, giving his hand a squeeze. I began to wonder what we were going to do together. We could walk along the shore, swim and explore the depths of the ocean, maybe even surf. Anything was a possibility. Out of pure excitement, I tightened my hold of Damien's hand and pulled him towards the ocean, giggling a bit.
Huh?
Come on! Let's jump in!
Wait!
I could barely hear him as we made our way towards the edge of the water. Before we could even touch it, however, Damien pulled my hand back, causing us to stop. Whoa!
Hold on, okay?
Damien, what's wrong? Damien grimaced, tightening his grip on my hand as he looked down at the sand in shame. What's he ashamed of?
I can't swim.
And suddenly I felt bad. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry! I didn't know!
It's alright. I guess I forgot to tell you.
Damien relaxed a bit before stepping beside me, looking out at the water. There was a form of longing in his eyes that made me frown, but a prick of curiosity tapped at my mind. Why don't you know how to swim?
Well, I guess the demon world is to blame. In the abyssal plains, we live near a place called the Decaying Sea, a cursed body of water that pulls anyone who falls in beneath the water, for all eternity.
This actually plays a part in number 2, so take note of this, everybody. Oh, wow.
Yeah. When we came here, James and the others instantly adapted and grew to love the beaches we went to. I never really got over my fear, though, so I can't swim.
Damien pressed his lips together and sighed, making me frown a bit more. I really wanted to help him, and he seemed to be interested in at least wading through the water. With a small dollop of courage, I turned around and slowly walked back into the water, feeling the ocean gently rapid dance around my feet while I held Damien's hand.
Huh?
Let's take it slow then. I'll help you through it, even if we just wad through the water. Damien stared at me in surprise. I hoped he was up for the courageous chance, but something told me that he would be just a little nudge. As his lips finally formed a loving smile, he nodded, making me giddy in joy. He slowly began to walk towards me as I led both of us further into the water. As the ocean caressed Damien's feet, he flinched a bit, tightening his grasp on my hand. However, he gulped slightly and pushed himself further. I felt a bit bad not wanting to force him into this, so I slowed my pace even further, eventually getting us to the knee-deep edge of the water. The ocean, on the other hand, was an impatient beast. I barely noticed a shadow hovering over us as Damien looked up behind me and suddenly became pale in fright.
Wave!
I barely had time to turn around to see a gigantic wave pressing over Damien and me before feeling my incubus rush at me and wrap himself around me protectively. The cold but refreshing wave of water splashed around our bodies, making the warm air that followed after brushing against our cold skin. However, we remained frozen at the event, caught off guard at the ocean's natural splash attack. I looked up at Damien and watched as he slowly opened his eyes, looking around in slight surprise. We were both soaking wet, but we were still okay, sitting in the same spot we were in before. Gently sitting up straight, I placed my hands on his shoulders, slightly nervous and worried about my incubus's mental state. Damien? A moment passed of utter silence as Damien seemed to take in what had happened to him. We were alright, and we were still together. Finally, Damien began to laugh. It was a sweet and joyful laugh, one that seemed to ooze with innocent excitement and enthusiasm. I couldn't help but start laughing myself. That wave was unexpected. Damien grinned at me before gently walking further into the water, gesturing for me to follow.
Come on! Let's wait for another one further in.
I stared dumbfounded. Where did this rush of courage come from? As if the ocean listened to my thoughts, a small wave gently pulled me forward, pushing the back of my knees toward Damien. I stared at the water before smiling. The swimming lesson would be fun. I would spend time with Damien before forging a new memory and helping him learn to love the water. The ocean seemed excited to have us, and I was happy to know we would have a grand time. I wouldn't have had it any other way. Alright, okay. I was kind of wondering what they were going to do with that, because everybody else seemed appropriate, but I'm like, what are they going to do with Damien? But Damien does not know how to swim, so we're going to help him with that. Okay. Okay. I can appreciate that. Well, alrighty. So that was the bonus content. Kind of boring, surprisingly. We're back to Damien being boring. What the hell? I don't know. They just didn't seem that interesting to me. They're kind of like, oh, I just love you. Oh, I love you too, and that's it. The beach was kind of interesting. That one I liked that the most, I would have to say. But yeah, this has been Let's Play Seduce Me, Damien's route. I thank you all for joining me, as I am Tara the Fox, you are the viewer, and of course, I hope to see you next time.